There's a specific kind of silence when you're sitting in your car staring at a dashboard light that just flickered on. You don't even need to know what the symbol means to feel that immediate cold sink in your stomach. It isn't just about the car, it's the mental math that starts running automatically. You're calculating the rent, the groceries, the credit card minimum, and wondering which one of those things is going to have to break to fix this. For most of us, that feeling, that low-level, constant hum of financial anxiety is just the background noise of our lives. It's the water we swim in. We've been told that to fix it, we need to be millionaires, or we need a six-figure salary, or we need to grind until we drop. But there is a very specific, almost magical threshold where that noise finally starts to go quiet. It isn't $1 million. It isn't even $50,000. It's the moment you see 5 figures in your bank account for the first time. It's that first $10,000. And honestly, everything changes after that. We tend to look at $10,000 as a nice start, or maybe just a down payment on a car we don't really need. We've been conditioned by social media in the hustle culture to view anything less than a massive windfall as insignificant. We're told that if we aren't talking about generational wealth or complex investment portfolios, we aren't really winning. But that perspective is actually a trap. It makes the mountain look so high that we never even put on our hiking boots. We stay stuck in this cycle of just enough, where we're always one bad Tuesday away from a total collapse. Most people misunderstand what that first $10,000 is actually for. They think it's about what you can buy with it. But the reality is that the value of that money isn't in its purchasing power, it's in its psychological power. When you have $0 in savings, you aren't a free agent in your own life. You are, in a very real sense, a hostage to your circumstances. You have to take the overtime you hate. You have to put up with the boss who demeans you. You have to stay in the apartment with the leaking ceiling because you can't afford the security deposit somewhere else. We struggle not because we're bad with money, but because the system is designed to keep us in a state of reactive survival. We're so busy trying to put out the fires of today that we can't even imagine building a house for tomorrow. $10,000 is the fire extinguisher. It's the moment you stop reacting and start acting. To understand why 10,000 is the turning point, we have to look at the psychology of scarcity. There's a fascinating concept in behavioral science called tunneling. When we are stressed about a lack of resources, whether it's time or money, our brains literally change. Our cognitive bandwidth narrows. We become hyper-focused on the immediate problem, and our ability to plan for the long term actually drops. It's like trying to solve a math problem while someone is screaming in your ear. You aren't stupid or lazy, you're just overwhelmed. When you have no cushion, every decision is high stakes. If you buy the slightly more expensive, healthier groceries, you might not have enough for the gas to get to work. That constant state of high-stakes decision-making leads to decision fatigue. You eventually burn out and make a bad financial choice, like ordering takeout because you're too exhausted to cook, and then you beat yourself up for it. It's a brutal cycle. Now, think about the math of the first 10,000. In the world of investing, we talk a lot about compound interest. We see those charts where money grows exponentially over 30 years. But what those charts don't show you is the activation energy required to get the engine started. Saving your first $10,000 is, pound for pound, the hardest money you will ever make. Why? Because you're doing it entirely on your own. Your money isn't working for you yet. There is no momentum. You're pushing a massive boulder up a very steep hill, and every time you have a car repair or a medical bill, that boulder rolls back a few feet. But once you hit that $10,000 mark, the physics of your life begin to shift. For the first time, you have what I call the buffer. Let's say you have an unexpected $500 expense. For someone with zero savings, that's a crisis. It's a high-interest credit card balance that will haunt them for months. For someone with $10,000, it's an inconvenience. It's a bummer. That's it. The emotional delta between a crisis and a bummer is where your quality of life actually lives. This isn't just about math, it's about your nervous system.
When you know that you can survive for 3, 4, or maybe 6 months without a paycheck, your shoulders physically drop. You start breathing differently. You start looking people in the eye differently. This is the stage where you move from scarcity brain to agency brain. You realize that you aren't just a passenger in the economy, you're a participant. You start to see that the world is full of options, but those options are only visible when you aren't staring at the floor trying to find loose change. The real turning point happens when you realize that $10,000 isn't just a safety net, it's a no fund. This is the most underrated psychological benefit of money. Most of our stress comes from things we feel forced to say yes to. Yes to the extra shift that means missing your kid's game. Yes to the client who treats you like garbage. Yes to the lifestyle that's draining your soul. When you have that 5-figure cushion, for the first time in your adult life, you have the power to say no. Not in a loud, aggressive way, but in a quiet, confident way. It's the power to say, I'm not sure this role is the right fit for me anymore. Or, I'm going to take a month to find the right opportunity rather than jumping at the first thing that pays. This changes the power dynamic of your entire life. Suddenly, you're not desperate, and there is nothing more expensive than desperation. Desperation makes you take bad loans, accept low wages, and make short-term trades that hurt your long-term future. When you remove desperation from the equation, you start making patient decisions. You start buying things that last longer. You start investing in your health. You start thinking about where you want to be in 5 years, not just where you'll be on Friday. This is where the money psychology loop finally works in your favor. Because you're calmer, you make better decisions. Because you make better decisions, you save more money. Because you have more money, you feel even calmer. The boulder has reached the top of the hill. It's starting to roll down the other side. You'll find that saving the second $10,000 is significantly easier than the first. Not because you're making more money, though you might be, but because you've stopped paying the poverty tax. You aren't paying late fees, you aren't paying high interest, and you aren't making panic purchases. You've gained exit velocity from the atmosphere of constant stress. So, how do we actually get there? If you're at zero today or if you're in debt, $10,000 feels like a fairy tale. I want to be very clear. This isn't about skipping lattes or some one weird trick. It's about a fundamental, boring, and deeply human commitment to your future self. First, we have to stop the bleeding of the comparison tax. We spend so much of our mental energy trying to look like we've already arrived that we never actually start the journey. The fastest way to $10,000 is to live a life that looks much smaller than your paycheck allows. It's about deciding that the feeling of security is more addictive than the feeling of a new purchase.
Next, you have to automate the unseen. If you wait until the end of the month to see what's left over to save, the answer will always be zero. The world is too good at taking your money. You have to treat your savings like a bill that must be paid, even if it's $20 a week. It's not about the amount, it's about the neural pathway you're building. You're teaching your brain that you are a person who saves. You are a person who has a surplus. Finally, you have to protect that first $10,000 with your life. People will tell you to invest it in the stock market or buy crypto or start a business, and eventually, yes, you should put your money to work, but not this money, not the first $10,000. This money isn't for growth, it's for foundation. This is your peace of mind fund. It stays in a boring, high-yield savings account where you can see it. Its job isn't to earn 10% interest, its job to earn you 8 hours of sleep a night. Don't judge yourself if it takes a year. Don't judge yourself if it takes 3 years. The timeline matters far less than the direction. Every dollar you add to that pile is a little bit of weight off your chest. Every $100 is a little more no you can say to the world. If you're listening to this and you feel that familiar pang of anxiety because your balance isn't anywhere near 5 figures, I want you to take a breath. You aren't behind, you aren't failing, you're just in the middle of the hardest part. The beginning is always the loudest, the messiest, and the most exhausting.
We live in a world that tries to convince us that we need everything right now, but the greatest luxury in the world isn't a designer bag or a fast car. The greatest luxury is the ability to wake up in the morning and not feel afraid of your own mailbox. It's the ability to look at an uncertain future and feel for the first time that you are prepared for it. $10,000 won't make you famous, it won't make you rich by the world's standards, but it will make you free in ways that most people never experience. It's the threshold where you stop surviving your life and start living it. So keep pushing that boulder. It gets lighter, I promise. And remember, progress is rarely a straight line. It's a series of small, quiet choices that eventually add up to a very loud silence, the silence of a life without financial fear. You've got this, just one step at a time.